Kings and whisperers. Once upon a time a ship sailed the sea. He had a terrible captain. He had a glass eye. He always wore this eye around his neck, walked around the deck without an eye, and whispered the following words to himself. I am a general of the people who whispers about death at sea. All the crew members on the ship were dressed in strange black robes, the ends of which they clutched in their hands and tightly. They squeezed, pulling the robe ends, turning their hands blue from constricted vessels. They sailed to an island with a volcano. They sought the ancient west there in the fate of their ship. A spectator noticed a spyglass island on the horizon during the match. He let out a loud cry, shouting "Earth!" as he tightly squeezed a piece of fabric. The fabric slid along his toenails, eventually striking his teeth with a sharp impact. The rower began to row even faster. All the other people in robes began to tighten their robes, raised their heads up and started whispering, whispering, whispering. The captain whispered the same words. One person in a robe refused to go to the island and opted to stay on the ship. They believed that finding the commandment about our fate and the ship's fate would lead to our demise. I think death awaits us on the island. The captain approached, hitting him and saying, You bring ruin to the team. One more similar word and I'll throw you overboard, he replied. After a while, I will finally reach the earth that is nearby and burst into laughter. The captain swiftly drew his saber and forcefully struck the man in the stomach with it. But the man in the robe said, You know perfectly well, Captain, that we are not immortal. Why did you hit me? The saber is likely just for show. They were not born like regular individuals. We were brought into existence with a whisper, whisper, whisper. At sea, he whispered. Silence followed as all turned and spotted two ships sailing towards the setting sun on the distant horizon. On them, pirates of the sea, pirates of the sea. It sounded delicious. To arms, guys, shouted the captain. Strong wind blew, people in robes. The captain took out his sabers. The ship swayed heavily. The captain shouted, Prepare the cannons. People in robes began to tightly squeeze their bodies with stretched robes. All of a sudden, a shot rang out. The core fell close to their ship. It immediately became extremely hot. A faint whisper spread through the ship, causing a ripple of hushed voices to emerge from everyone on board. The vessel fired a shell at the opposing ship. In summary, during the encounter, one of the pirate ships suffered damage to its sail and was left in a disadvantaged position. Well, in general, everything is clear here. The baby is Zero in the ship, and the ship was hit by two shells simultaneously. Having scattered the whole team across the deck, the ship began to sink. The whole team started jumping off the ship into the sea, just like everyone else. The captain whispered to himself, We will never reach this island and never uncover the reason why we have the fate of rappers, but simultaneously remain fools. And fate creates calm in the sea. But we know for sure that we will return when a new ship catches up with our destiny. Here the pirates began to shout with someone else's voice, not with his own voice. One of the pirates started shouting louder than the others, and then all the other pirates, frightened, started jumping overboard. The storm began on the ship. There was a lone pirate remaining, who laughed loudly and declared, Now I am the captain of the ship. I am certain that we have submerged the whispering individuals. Thus we must transform into a clamorous group. He grabbed one pirate by the hand, he threw him overboard and pulled him onto the deck, after which he violently ripped out his eyes, and he screamed very loudly and said, Now I am a screaming captain with one eye, and our fate is unknown to us, but there is an island nearby where we will find the truth about the fate of screamers and whisperers. However, the same incident occurred on a different ship. Both vessels proceeded towards their intended destinations. All the heroes of our show commenced their journey towards the island in their minds, seeking to uncover the truth about Sheptunov, and in short, these individuals known as the Krikunovs. But then a whisper was heard from one of the pirate ships. Everyone turned around, and it was Captain Sheptunov who said, If I was the first to drown in this sea, then you were given robes, and in order to engage in combat against my team, you need to dress yourself in robes. Robed figures swarmed the ship, sparking a battle with a mix of whispers and shouts that melded into a moan, the sound that resembled a whistle. People were falling into convulsions, and the wounded were falling right onto the deck. But then everything suddenly stopped, and they looked overboard, and there was no sharp gas. It was just a mirage. But then someone at the match shouted, Earth! Earth! And all the people in robes who seemed to have been killed stood up and began to squeeze their robes in their hands. The captain shouted, screaming, "Squeeze even harder, you must squeeze very hard. I am a captain causing a storm, with me a captain causing calm. But when we sail, we never know, because we always see only a mirage. Now we're all together, so we're shouters, whisperers, or ships at sea. There'll never be calm, nor will there ever be a storm." Here everyone laughed. And who said that we were born in the sea? And a question mark hung. People. We are people who had a bad dream, and they all woke up. There was a graveyard of ships around. All people went through this desert, through this cemetery, but then a cry was heard, "Water, water! Consume warm water." A pal informed me about this. He inquired if I had consumed hot water or something. How are you doing, by the way?